educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Never Work podcast, where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here's your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
Thank you for coming on today. I have a wonderful guest today. Aside from a successful 28-year career up to VP in sales, this gentleman has been featured in Fox, CBS, and NBC, along with being named one of the top business coaches in America for 2 consecutive years by the NYC Journal and Disruptors Magazine. He is known for helping realtors and small business owners to unlock their pathway to success through creating, accelerating systems of habits and total mindset alignment. You know what, y'all? Let's find ways to become unstoppable today. I introduce to you today, Joey. Joey, thank you for coming on today.
It's great to be here with you, Maurice. Just in the free talk we had, I'm excited for us to have a conversation here.
That's cool. So Joey, Listen, man, a lot of us, we're not sure how to unlock anything, right? We don't, we stop ourselves in a lot of different ways. So what's some way that we can kind of maybe start to unlock that our potential, if you will?
The place I always start, Maurice, and whether I work with somebody or not depends on this. First and foremost is, do they have an open mind? Do you have an open mind? Because so many of us are so entrenched in our beliefs and our patterns, paradigms, things like that, which we'll talk about later, but we're so entrenched in that we won't believe it. So when I tell people that I've worked with business owners who have gone from 13 years in business, their highest year being 7.5 million, and within 12 calendar months, they went to $23 million and been sustaining that for over 5 years now. A lot of people will not allow themselves to believe that. Yeah. And if they don't believe that, then it's not possible for them to achieve things like that. So it really is that we have to be willing to challenge our belief systems. We got to be willing to challenge what's possible for us as a starting point.
So how would you suggest someone to get over maybe some of them pain points, if you will, our past or whatever it is, in order for us to start on that journey to another place?
Yeah, great question. Everything I do is geared towards that. It's geared towards bumping up against those patterns and paradigms. Our beliefs are we have beliefs that we've never experienced, but somebody told us it.
Right.
And we lock that into our beliefs and we don't challenge it. So it just goes on as a belief. And then we come up against something that could be like just enormous change in our life. And we stop ourselves from being able to advance in that way because of that belief. And so what I tell people, the beginner mindset, our society does not condition us to have an open mind. No, even from school, you have to know the answers. You have to know what to say and when to say, you got to know how to do it. You got to figure it out and be able to strategize and put the to-dos and all the action plans and everything in place if you want to be successful in anything. And that's so far away from that. So what I tell people is if you're over, 20 years old, you know a lot. If I can go about my life instead of with what I know, but be seeking what can I add to what I already know. I've opened up my mind.
So because of our culture, right? Right now, we're in our background, like for an example, right? You're influenced by your parents, which is your first relationship in the world, right? Yeah. And then your siblings, grandparents, aunts, uncles, whatever it might be, cousins, whatever it might be. And if they have that mindset of being in that place, right, and they never be able to get over that hump, how would you encourage someone to say, hey, you know what, instead of, because some people may feel as though they might need to get rid of that past, if you will, and forsake those. but sometimes we want to be able to embrace that. So how do you encourage someone to still embrace that to even move forward?
Great question. I grew up in a very low income family with my mom and dad, 4 siblings in Detroit, Michigan.
Right.
And I watched them struggle my entire youth. I remember I was 9.5 years old, and I went to a friend's for the weekend, and just the environment in the house was lighter. His dad gave us $20 and told us to go to Dairy Queen. In my family, we had to save up to do stuff like that.
Right.
And so when I realized that, I was like, man, I am not living like you people.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to do this. I don't have to live this way. And then I got into my adult years and started working, in the workforce and things like that. And I repeated those same patterns. And that's really the driver for me of like changing my life. So all the works I've done over the last 30 years with the coaching, consulting, things like that has been, I was the guinea pig for, because it's like, I didn't want to live like that anymore. And then as I started understanding this stuff, the passion grew within me that my parents were really good people, but they didn't have the tools available that we have today. And I wanted, my life purpose is to inspire, motivate, and lead millions of people to live better lives, and do so through the reprogramming of the subconscious. So I have a system I've developed called the SMT method, which is subconscious mindset training. And it's really the subconscious. I mean, I can explain it to you, but the subconscious is what holds the limitation of how far we can go in our life. It's not where I was born or what I have in the bank account or, any of that. It's whether I'm male or female, none of that matters. What it is that programming in my subconscious is going to set my limit. And so the programs that I've developed are geared towards bumping up against those patterns and those paradigms and those belief systems so that we can challenge them and shift them to open up the avenue. And as we do, we start unlocking avenues, and all of a sudden opportunities start showing up that we think, wow, I wish this would have been here before. But they were, but we didn't even notice them because of where our mindset was at. Does that make sense?
Oh, no, it makes total sense. So in that, because I've done my research, right? So let's understand something that one of the key points of this method is understanding our vision.
Absolutely. Even in corporate America, the last, 6, 7, 8 years of my corporate career is I would help organizations, mainly the foundry industry that were in bankruptcy, get back into profitability. And every single one of them, we developed a vision of what does that look like? What does it look like? Or where do you want to go? And what does that look like?
Right.
And then as we develop that vision, now all of a sudden, Maurice, instead of living by situations like the economy or interest rates or, the competition, instead of those things determining our pathway, we have this vision, and those are just minor bumps in the pathway is all they are. It really, you know what I mean? Because often we're conditioned. Here's one of my things. When you hear that phrase, have you ever heard the phrase, the squeaky wheel gets the grease?
Yes. Well,
what does that mean to you?
What does it mean to me? For me, it means that particular wheel is going to get the attention, if you will.
Whatever's broken is going to get the attention, right? Right. And we live like that. And some people live their entire lives going from this is not right, this isn't right, this is broken, this is, and the way I live, the way my clients live, is the squeaky wheels are the blessings. That's what gets the attention. When you make that shift, when you have a vision of what you want to create, what you want to expand, a business or even a higher level in your employment, whatever it is, a great love relationship, finances, whatever. When you get that vision, now you have a target to go to. And I'll tell you, this is where I typically veer away from all of the coaching and consulting and all the stuff that's out there, even a lot of the books.
Okay.
I don't work off of a roadmap. The process is set up to take individuals through it, but it takes it through it in their uniqueness. Not that everybody gets the same thing out of it. And so I'm not about coming up with strategies and action plans and exhaustive to-do lists, massive actions, exhaustive efforts, having to trade off in your life in order to achieve what you want to achieve. I'm not about any of that. The people that I work with, which is almost 1,000 clients over the past decade, have been where it's not about this or that. It's about this and that. So I can have freedom of time to spend with my family and enjoy my life and still be thriving in my business and watching it grow. those are some things with mindset. And when you get that vision in place for that, I call it a dynamic vision and road mapping tools and stuff. But when you get that vision in place, all of a sudden it starts getting exciting. And then we start stepping into bringing that vision to fruition. And as we do that, even bumping up against the patterns and paradigms, it's only going to open up more of the vision. So it's not a drudgery type of process or a pathway. It's an exciting, we start opening up and realizing and discovering.
So, and like I said, doing my research, I listened to one of your another show you were on, right? So in that show, you talked about how one of your clients had not gone on a 5-day vacation, right? Their adult life. Some of us would like to get to that point, so how could we change our mindset or get ourselves aligned in the right way to even achieve something like that?
Yeah, and what I say is you got to look at what is, and instead of like so often we put judgment on. I wrote a book called Life's Lessons, and in that book I wrote. Now you hear it a lot of places and stuff, but in that book I thought it was original then. It was. But in that book I wrote, I got to a point in my life where like the things that were happening, I had to and I didn't know how, but I had to look at differently. If I believed that, in God, and I believed in all this, and He's for me and all this stuff and everything, then I had to start looking at that stuff differently. And so what I started doing is I started looking at the situations under the belief that life is happening for me and not to me. And when I did that, the next bump I came up against is my judgments. If something happens I didn't like, that was bad. If something happened I liked, it was good. I had to remove that. There's no good or bad. There's no right or wrong. And then I could ask the question, why is this happening? And every single thing I've been through, and I've been through alcohol abuse, I've been through a crazy divorce, I've been through so many different things, a motorcycle accident with a deer at 70 miles an hour that I shouldn't have lived through that I did. I have all these experiences that have happened, but even in my business side of stuff, of breaking away from that employee, that employee to corporate America and breaking into my own creativity, into what I want to, build in my life and what I believe my mission and purpose is in life, and doing that. And so as I started doing that and looking at it that way and removing the judgments, and the more I did, the more I learned about like how life was really showing me something. Right. And ultimately what it's showing us is this is happening and I don't care for it so much. Its only real purpose is to go, well, what do I want then? And kind of like a GPS system guiding me to what is it I do want. Right. But I have to remove judgments and all that in order to get to even being willing to look at it that way. And then I focus on what I do want. And as I focus on what I do want and I build the energy within that, then honestly, like, we've all had coincidences, right? Yes. Things that happen, what I call out of the blue. Do you know we can live within that over and over and over? It's not a every once in a while thing. We can continually live there. And I'll tell you, Maurice, I don't do advertising for the coaching I do. And I stay busy as a coach and I speaking engagements, featured on magazines. It's actually, 2023 was another year I was selected as the top 20 business coach. So it's 3 years running and stuff. But all of that stuff, and I don't brag about it. It's just all blessings that happen. And as we do that, all of a sudden things start, it's almost like things are orchestrated in a different way. Okay. And here's why. If our mindset is focused on the squeaky wheel being broken, what's broken, we're going to always focus on that. And we're going to always see more and more and more that's broken. Right. If we focus and I'm just using that because we talked about it. Yes. If we focus if the squeaky wheel becomes our blessing and what's going good and what we're grateful for, all of a sudden we see that expanding more and more and more. And that all comes from mindset. When you look at the total mindset, there's our conscious mind. That's the words we use, the thoughts we entertain, the people we hang out with, all of that's in the conscious. We have a choice there. But within that conscious mind is our knowing. It's where we come up with the knowing of what we want. Okay? And then we have the subconscious mind. We don't have control over the subconscious mind without the conscious mind. All the subconscious mind does is absorbs whatever the conscious mind is focused on, the subconscious mind absorbs. And then within the subconscious is what I call a motherboard of all of our programming, our experiences, everything we've been told, our habits, our belief system, all of that's in that motherboard. Okay, where the conscious mind is the knowing, the subconscious is the doing. And so what happens is people know what they want, but their actions aren't leading to that. Well, that motherboard is what triggers the brain waves to the actions we take and don't take. Make sense?
It makes
So
total
if
sense.
somebody's programming is struggle is the way of life, and in their knowing they don't want to struggle anymore, but if their subconscious is programmed with struggling be the way of life, if an opportunity comes about where it would eliminate that struggle, people won't take action on it. So ultimately, everything I do is geared at closing that gap between the knowing and doing. And we use the vision, we use the systems of accelerating habits, we use the different processes in order to do that. How it's applied is unique to the individual. You would apply the system, the program differently than I would. But what you end up with at the end is your personalized roadmap.
Right.
And then you can take it from there and apply it to any endeavor or anything you take on in life, and it will apply to it.
So in that programming, right, one of the things I believe that we need to get a handle on, what most people need to get a handle on, is fear. So
the biggest one, man.
So
it is. It's the biggest one.
So how would you encourage someone to be able to manage that fear? Because sometimes because like you said, you got the conscious and you got subconscious. Sometimes that fear is so deep rooted in that subconscious. So how would you suggest to someone to kind of manage their fear to get over the hump?
Yeah, and that's, man, I'm glad you brought that up without us even talking about it, because that's the big paralyzer right there. Fear. Fear. There are so many people's desires and their dreams and their visions and the things they want that never even get a single action taken into it because of fear. So when you look at it like that, one of the things I love to do personally in my life is I love to challenge my fears, because I've learned that process, and we'll talk about it, but I've learned that process of going through it. So I thought I was afraid of heights.
Okay.
So I went out and got certified for hang gliding.
Oh, okay.
So I jump off of 2,000-foot mountaintops and higher with me strapped to a hang glider. And what I realized in that process, going through the fear, I'm not afraid of heights. I'm afraid of falling.
Okay.
And so I can really be up there and run off of that ledge and really enjoy the views and the feeling of soaring and all of that stuff because of challenging that fear. I have multiple businesses that for years in my 30s, man, I could not break away from corporate America because of that fear. I could not let that go. And so many people get into that place of that. So there's a whole array of ways that we deal with that, because it's such a big, paralyzer. Fear is when we get a vision and we start building the excitement into that vision, it shrinks the fear a little bit. Right. And the more excited you are about what you want to achieve, the less the fear gets a voice in there.
Right.
We go through processes that help us, understand how all the fear is telling us really is it's not saying we can't, it's just saying we haven't done so yet. And so as we start stepping into and developing systems of accelerating habits that are unique to every individual that does it, and we start stepping into it, we start realizing, because we're opening up that vision, and we use that as kind of like, I want to say the carrot, but it is really, we use that as a carrot of the excitement to keep going into it. And as we do so, it starts opening it up more. Can you see how the fear will start vanishing when we start stepping into it that way?
Most definitely.
And all of a sudden, somebody who was afraid, I always call it, whenever I'm doing sales training and stuff, a 9,000-pound phone, or taking a step into starting that business, or writing a book, or whatever it may be. When we build the excitement around stepping into it, and then we have support and somebody working with us and helping us to go through that, a fear shared is cut in half, right? So if you and I are going to do something and you're running into like that wall of fear that just paralyzes you, and you and I can walk through that together and break it down. Maybe it's micro steps we take. Maybe it's smaller steps, and we don't take that big leap into it. Within a very short period of time of doing that, your steps into the fears are going to get greater and greater.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. It makes total sense. Well, you know what, Joey? time is short, man. So where can our listeners, right? Where can they find you to where you can help them navigate these little steps to get to their place that they would like to be?
Absolutely, Maurice. And anybody, I love having these conversations. You don't have to worry about me trying to sign you up for coaching, this and that, or anything else. The right people are going to align and stuff like that. Anyway, so anybody can reach out and schedule a 15-minute call with me at coachwithjoey.com. Or, and you can put this in the show notes, you can just call me on my cell phone at 864-614-3333.
Okay.
And if you're serious about wanting to bring about change, just reach out to me. I'll do whatever I can to help you.
Nice, Joey, man. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate all the information you provided today.
Yeah, this has been, this is a blessing for me. I'm so grateful I got to meet you and have this conversation.
Same here. Well, you know what? But before I let you go, I'm going to ask you the question I ask all my guests. My would you rather question. Would you rather choose 3 doors or a fork in the road?
Boy, that's a great question. Would I rather choose 3 doors or a fork in the road?
Yes.
I would have to go with the fork in the road.
Really? And why is that? Why the fork?
I don't know. It just feels better for me. Like it feels like it's the right thing. It feels like the fork. I've been up against a lot of forks in the road. We all have.
Yes.
And knowing there's another avenue and things like that, and knowing tapping into that guidance as far as, which way and stuff, it just feels, I would choose the fork in the road.
Cool. I appreciate that.
I am curious, we could do it here or afterwards, is what you would choose.
I would choose the fork in the road.
Okay.
Because in that
Why
way,
is that?
And I would choose the fork because if it was the wrong way, quote unquote, the wrong way, because everything is a learning process, right? But was considered the wrong way, I learned from it. I don't need more options and confusion. I'm like, all right, I know I went this way. Next time I need to go that way. That's the way I look at it.
And I love that you said that. And ultimately, it's not the wrong way. It's always the right way. It's just our perceptions of it.
Right.
And if I could add one other thing, I know we're running near the edge of the time, but the reality of our life, the entire reality of our life is make-believe. Because the reality of our life, the reality of your life, Maurice, the reality of my life is based on our perceptions.
Yes.
So at any time that we're unhappy with things in our life, all we have to do is shift our perceptions and it'll shift our entire life.
Most definitely.
And that's what I help people do. And I love that I get to do what I do. I do.
That's nice, man. That's nice. Well, Joey, I appreciate you, man. I really, really do.
Yeah, I do, you too.
So everyone, all his information will be in the description for the show. And continue to listen to That Will Never Work podcast.
Thanks for listening. Find us on social media at Chisholm Group LLC and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work, or will it?